So, welcome to USDA, helping small businesses in small communities. And today's panelists are Tim Smith and Steve Mosher from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Let me tell you briefly about these folks. Tim Smith is a Rural Business Programs Director for the USDA Rural Development in Arkansas. He is a native of Tuckerman, Arkansas, and Tim graduated from the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville with a Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Business and a Master of Science in Agricultural Economics. He's responsible for administering the Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program, the REAP Energy Program, as well as several other programs designed to promote economic development in rural areas. And Tim began his career with the USDA Rural Development back in 1988 and has worked in several locations throughout the state before moving to the Business Program section in Little Rock in 1997, and he served as the Business Programs Director since 2008. And our other panelist today is Steve Mosher, and Steve is an Area Director for the USDA Rural Development, Area 6, located in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and he was raised on a dairy farm in Bentonville. Steve began his lending career when he was hired by the USDA Rural Development in June of 1983 as a student trainee. And he's a graduate of Bentonville High School, an honor graduate from the University of Arkansas with a Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Business, and he is a state certified general appraiser. He's very active in his community, the past president of the Pope County Cattlemen's Association, current president of the Arkansas Limousine Association, and that's a cow by the a type of cattle, not a vehicle, by the way. Steve's very active in his church, Flat Rock Baptist, and on the board of various different organizations. He's a strong proponent for the USDA rural development programs, as you'll find out here shortly. He's been working for over 32 years for the USDA to improve rural Arkansas. And he's best known for his aggressive, positive, hardworking attitude. Steve wants to be remembered for making a positive difference in the world we live. Wow, welcome, Steve.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Arkansas Tech University and the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center for this opportunity for USDA Rural Development to share some of our programs. We have 42 programs through USDA Rural Development that pretty much is comprised of 3 different sections: the Rural Housing and Community Facility Program, the Rural Utilities Program, and the Rural Business and Cooperative Program. The programs we're going to talk about today fall under the Rural Business and Cooperative Program. The mission of the Rural Business and Cooperative Program is to create jobs, strengthen communities, and diversify rural economy. We do that through USDA Rural Development programs through loans, grants, and loan guarantees. This is a picture of one of our projects that we have in Clarksville, Arkansas, Bright Harvest, which has a guaranteed business and industry loan with us now. The Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program benefits businesses by providing higher loan amounts, lower interest rates, longer terms, and makes capital available as the guaranteed portion of the guaranteed loans is not part of the restricted amount that banks have to have in their reserves. The benefits to the lender are reduced risk, lending limit restrictions, and access to the secondary market. Guaranteed percentages: the maximum percent is 80% for loans of $5 million or less, 70% for loans of $5 million to $10 million, and 60% for loans of $10 million to $25 million, with $25 million being the cap. Eligible areas include all rural areas except cities with populations larger than 50,000 and the urbanized areas continuous with them. An example of that would be like Fort Smith and Barling, where Barling, Arkansas is contingent to Fort Smith, and you cannot really tell when you leave Fort Smith and go into Barling, and that's an example of an area that would not be eligible. The eligible borrowers include individuals, partnerships, cooperatives and corporations, Indian tribes, and public bodies. Eligible loan purposes are working capital, machinery and equipment, buildings and real estate, and debt refinancing. Ineligible loan purposes include lines of credit, agriculture production, projects that transfer employment from one area to another, golf courses, gambling establishments, and racetracks. The maximum repayment term is for working capital is 7 years, for machinery and equipment is 15 years or the useful life, and real estate is 30 years. Equity requirements, 20% of the minimum is a minimum amount for new businesses, and 10% is a minimum amount for existing businesses. The equity is calculated in accordance with the generally accepted accounting practices, also known as GAAP. Interest rates, fixed or variable interest rates. They are negotiated between the lender and the borrower. However, they must be similar to customary rates, and variable rates adjusted no more than quarterly. And our guarantee fee that is charged is currently 3%, and there is a servicing fee of
half a percent
based on the outstanding balance as of December the 31st of that physical year. And now I'm going to turn it over to Tim Smith, and he's going to talk about the Rural Energy for America program and the Value-Added Grant program.
All right, thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. Appreciate the opportunity to share a few of our programs with you this morning. And I am the program director for our business and industry loan section, and our there's several different programs that we administer. We're just sharing a couple of the programs this morning. And the first program I'd like to talk about is our Rural Energy for America program. If you've been around it a little bit, most of the times you hear it referred to as our REAP program. The photos that you're seeing now on your screen on the left there is a picture of a large wind turbine. Typically if you've traveled through any states that are known for having a lot of wind activity, Oklahoma, Texas, California, several states now, you're apt to see some of these large wind towers, and that's a picture of one of those there. On the right, you're seeing a farmer's grain bin facility, and the silver object right there in the middle of the picture is actually a grain dryer, and that's a highly energy efficient grain dryer, and that's one of the things that we've been able to help farmers replace old inefficient grain dryers with a piece of equipment like that you're seeing there. So the Rural Energy for America program originally came out of the 2002 Farm Bill that was passed, and it was just a program that was established as a grant program and a guaranteed loan program to assist agriculture producers and rural small businesses in purchasing renewable energy systems, and also in making energy efficiency improvements in their operations. Now, when we talk about renewable energy technologies, we're talking about wind, for example, the example of the windmill, the large windmills, but they can also be the smaller, individual farm-size windmills that you might see out beside a barn or a shop building or something like that. Another renewable energy technology is geothermal technology. We're using ground heat to produce energy or to use the heating and air system. And then there's solar. You see solar cells on the side of a building or just in an array out on a piece of land that are generating electricity. Then biomass, that's things like wood pellets that can be burned as fuel. That can be things like creating ethanol and biodiesel. All those are different biomass projects. And you have hydrogen and hydroelectric resources, using water to generate energy. And then another big category is our energy efficiency programs, where, a lot of times the best way to create energy is not to use it in the first place. So if we can help businesses and farmers find ways to be more energy efficient with the resources, then that's the equivalent of creating energy, new energy, with one of these other technologies. So, on energy efficiency projects, some examples of things that we see, for poultry houses, for example, going in, changing out lighting to energy efficient lighting, adding insulation, heating and ventilation systems in poultry houses, and swine houses, other types of growing facilities. As far as row crop systems, irrigation systems, replacing inefficient diesel motors with high efficiency electric motors to run irrigation pumps and wells. There is a way to find a lot of efficiencies for sure. And then for the small businesses side of it, replacing a heating air system, any heating air system, it's 20, 25 years old. Whatever you replace it with is going to be a high efficiency system compared to, the older technology that was currently being used. In grocery stores, you can go in and replace some things like lighting and coolers and freezers. Again, when you're replacing older equipment with new modern equipment, you're going to get a lot of efficiency upgrades and get a lot of savings out of making those types of changes. On any type of commercial building, replacing windows and lighting and insulation, all are things that are helpful as far as helping that small business or that business save money, and that savings translates to their bottom line when you're able to find ways to save money on those utility costs. Again, here's an example of an old irrigation motor, diesel motor that was replaced with an electric motor to run the irrigation well. It's a $50,000 project. The REAP grant was able to fund 25% of that project. So the farmer that made this switch over, he was out $50,000. He got got $12,500 of that back in form of a grant, and then his cost savings that he's going to get from that switch over, he's going to recoup those costs in a short matter of time, 2, 3, 4 year payback before, and then once he gets that paid for, the savings that he reaps after that, it's all profit for him. So this chart here just shows a different levels of our funding. We're at the mercy of Congress on how much the program gets funded. You can see in 2009 it's a little over $450,000 was our state allocation in Arkansas. In 2010 it increased to over $1 million. Dropped a little bit in 2011, and then took a big hit in 2012 down to a little over $200,000. Now, since the passage of this last farm bill, that funding has been stabilized a little bit. There's guaranteed money built into the farm bill, so we're going to have at least between $700,000 and $800,000 in the program every year. And Congress is going to be able to appropriate additional money to the program as they see fit. So with that stabilized funding situation, that's going to give us opportunity to fund several grant programs in the state, several projects in the state. We're encouraging applications. We can accept applications at any time, and there's going to be money available to fund those projects. So who's eligible? What farmers and small businesses are eligible? As far as the agriculture producer, they can be located anywhere in the state. If it's a small business, they have to be in those rural areas. Again, that's at basically the population limit of 50,000 or less. The applicant has to be a private entity. They can be a sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, cooperative, even electric utility. Agriculture producer or rural small business. We can't fund a public body or a city, So it does have to be a private business to be eligible to participate in the program. You know, the types of projects are eligible, again, for energy efficiency. It's doing some types of energy efficiency upgrade to an existing system. So you have to be, you know, taking out an old freezer and putting in a new freezer, or taking out old lighting and putting in new lighting, adding insulation to an existing business, replacing windows and doors in an existing business, those types of things. So it has to be replacing something to qualify under energy efficiency. Now on the renewable energy side, that's not the case. So I mean, it may just be a small business decides that they want to add solar panels to their building to generate electricity, and that's eligible. So the projects have to be technically feasible, and it has to be a commercially available technology that's proven. It can't be something that your brother-in-law Bubba invented in his garage. You know, it has to be a known technology that's been vetted and proven to be an energy efficiency type item. And then the last thing is that the owner, the applicant, must be the owner of the system. For example, if a business is just leasing a building from someone else, the business can't come in and apply to replace lighting and to replace add insulation, those types of things, replace the heat and air system, because they don't own the building. The applicant has to own the system that's going to be replaced or upgraded with the project. Another thing probably should be good to mention is the upgrades can't be to residential. This program is not for housing of any type, so it has to be a business or a farm type situation to be eligible for the REAP program. You know, the grants can be as small as $1,500, or they can be as large as $500,000. You know, you're talking about, to be eligible for a $1,500 grant, it would be a project that was a $6,000 project. You know, to be eligible for that maximum $500,000 project would have to be a $2 million or greater type project. So there's a wide range there that can fit into this program. It can be something very small and small scale, fairly minimal, or it could be something as large as putting in a new biodiesel plant or ethanol plant, or a large solar farm to produce electric energy. So a wide variation there that can be eligible for the program. So the eligible cost that can be repaid or paid with this program is, of course, the main thing to keep in mind is don't do the work before you file an application. All expenses must be, all work and expenses must occur after you've actually filed an application with rural development. Of course, expenses for construction projects or project improvements, again, you can't do the residential. If there's an energy audit or assessment that was involved in the project, that's an eligible expense. Any permitting or licensing fees, any business plans or technical reports that have to be done, any professional service like architectural fees or engineering fees that are needed are eligible items, and some instances of feasibility study could be an eligible cost under the program. Things that we can't do with this program, again, residential improvements, energy efficiency improvements related to any kind of new construction, any kind of agriculture tillage equipment, vehicles. We can't do a project that's going to help a company save gas mileage on their vehicles. So vehicles are out. Applicant in-kind contributions aren't eligible, and then any cost that you incur in application preparation would not be eligible project fees under this this grant program. There also is a guaranteed loan involved with this program, so it works similarly to the guaranteed loan program that Steve described. So if you get the grant that can cover 25% of the project cost, then you can get a guaranteed loan to cover an additional 50% of a project cost, and then the applicants are responsible for coming up with that remaining 25% of the project cost, either by a cash injection or another loan made by the lender that's not guaranteed. The additional things that you can do with the guaranteed loan that you can't do with the grant, you can use funds for working capital, and you can also use funds to purchase land to build a building or to build your renewable energy project on. Maximum loan guarantee is going to be $25 million. There's not really any minimum amount that, whatever makes sense to the lender to do the paperwork to request a guarantee. We've seen some guaranteed loans that we've processed for under $50,000, so they can be quite small as well. And you can get the grant and a guaranteed loan in combination. So it's a good program. It helps a lot of people. Again, we're trying to find ways to make businesses and farmers and ranchers more energy efficient. Again, to help protect our natural resources and not waste energy by making these energy efficiency upgrades and these new renewable energy projects to again harness the things that nature has given us for free, to turn those into electricity that we can use and benefit us by not using our fossil fuels and other things that we have a limited supply of. So that's just a brief overview of the REAP program. Now I'd like to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about our Value-Added Producer Grant Program. And what this program is, it's a program that was created to help agricultural producers enter into value-added activities related to the processing and marketing of their agricultural product. Basically, instead of your farmers just harvesting their crop and taking it to the local granary and selling it on the open market, the tomato farmer picking his tomatoes and taking them to the tomato shed and taking the market price for them. It's a program that's designed to help those farmers find other ways to market their production, add value to it themselves before they sell their produce, their agriculture production. Again, trying to help the farmers find ways to put more of that consumer dollar back into their own pocket. Trying to help them find new ways to expand their markets. And again, as we're doing that, we're strengthening the farmers' financial stability, that we're strengthening our rural economies in the process. This program is a national competition every year. Currently, there's two types of grants. There's a planning grant and there's a working capital grant. It is a one-to-one match, so if you get a $50,000 grant, then you wind up having to have $50,000 in match money, again, to put into the project to go through the program. The grant can be up to a 36 months time frame. Most grants that we see, they have a project in mind and they complete that in 12 months, and then if they have a little bit of trouble getting the entire project completed in 12 months, we can give them an extension, give them enough time to do the project. Of course, there are basic program requirements. We're going to talk about applicant eligibility, project eligibility, purpose eligibility, and then there's some other eligibility requirements, and then some evaluation criteria. Again, this program comes out. It's announced in the Federal Register what time of year we're going to take applications, and so it will come out and say, okay, the application window is open. You have 60 days or 90 days to get your application in, and the cutoff date is going to be June 30th or August 31st or whatever date that's set out when it's published. It's published once a year, and so we have one competition for funding every year in this program. So applicant eligibility, we're looking at applicant type. If the applicants had any grants in the past, if they currently have an active grant. So there's 4 eligible applicant types. We have independent producers. We have agriculture producer groups. The independent producers, that's just what it sounds. That's just farmers and ranchers that are working on their farm, or it may be a collection of neighboring farmers that want to go in together to investigate some type of opportunity. Agriculture producer groups, that might be something like a soybean association, cattlemen's association. You know, it's some type of group that is made up of producers that has this working group out there working in their best interest. Then farmer and rancher cooperatives. Again, a cooperative is a business that's owned by the farmers and ranchers that it serves, so they're an eligible applicant. And then there's a last category is majority controlled producer-based business. You know, it may be a business that has some ownership that isn't agriculture producers owning it, but the majority of the business is owned by those agriculture producers. So to be eligible, those applicant types, they must own or produce more than 50% of the raw commodity that's going to be used in their value-added program. They must own the raw product from its raw commodity state through the production of the value-added product. Project eligibility has to be one of the approved value-added methodologies. It has to show an expansion of customer base, and the greater portion of the revenue that is received from the project is being returned back to those agriculture producers. The 5 methodologies is a change in physical state. You know, when you take a tomato and slice it into tomato slices, you've changed its physical state. It won't be able to be put back together. That's an example of a change in physical state. Something that's produced in a manner that enhances the value of the agriculture commodity, say non-GMO soybeans or other type of non-GMO grain. You know, that product's being produced in a manner that has some perceived value that might make that product worth more than something that's not produced in that manner. Product segregation. So, you know, again, that's your non-GMO type things. You know, the produced in a manner that adds value might be something like, you know, organically produced chicken or organic beef, those types of things. And then the last category is farm or ranch-based renewable energy. So it's on-farm production of some type of renewable energy. And then a locally produced agriculture food product. So if you're growing your agriculture product on your farm and selling it locally, then it can qualify for the program. Again, purpose eligibility, 2 types of grants and uses of funds. You know, it's either going to be a working capital grant or it's going to be a planning grant. So on the planning grant, the funds can be used to pay for some type of third-party consultant to come in and do a feasibility study, a marketing study, help put together a business plan, you know, for related to the processing and or marketing of the value-added product. Basically, doing the research and planning on entering into some type of value-added business. And then, you know, once an applicant may have gone through the planning process and decided to move forward with their value-added venture, then they can come back and apply for the second type of grant, which is working capital grant. And this working capital can be used to pay for eligible product expenses relating to the processing or marketing of the value-added product. So, you know, if they go into business and they're running a plant, then those overhead expenses for processing that value-added product, you know, they can get a 50% reimbursement there on those costs by using the grant. examples of costs for eligible activities, processing costs, that's going to include labor, utilities, packaging, labeling, ingredients, purchasing additional raw commodity from third parties, as long as it's no more than 49%, because as we said earlier, the farmer that's applying, the applicant, they have to provide over 50% of the raw product to the project. You can also use the funds to pay for advertising, promotions, and for your financial and accounting systems. Things you cannot do with the grant: you can't use it to purchase land, building, or equipment. You can't pay for your grant application. You can't use it to do research and development work, architectural, engineering, design work, or you can't use it to pay for the expenses of producing the agriculture product, or production, harvesting, or delivery to the processing facility of any of your agriculture products. So other eligibility requirements is the grant, the grant period. Maximum time frame is 36 months. Again, it depends on the scope of the project. A lot of the projects get finished in 12 months. And again, 12 months, we give out extensions 12 months at a time as they're needed, but we never can go beyond 36 months with the program. So that's just been a real quick overview of the two programs. With the Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program, with the REAP program, or with the Value Added Producer Grant Program, you can contact myself, Tim Smith, or my program specialist, Laura Tucker. Those are our numbers in our state office there in Little Rock. And if you can contact Steve's office as well, and they'll get you in touch with us also. But so we really have appreciated the opportunity to talk a little bit about our programs, and maybe we finished up here just a few minutes early, where if we've got some questions, we'll be able to answer questions.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Good job, fellas. All right. Momentary change here. All right. Just want to remind everybody, today's webinar is being hosted by the Arkansas Tech University branch of the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center. They're located in beautiful Russellville, Arkansas. And as always, our program here in the state is sponsored by the U.S. Small Business Administration. Those of you that are out of state, you also have a Small Business Development Center program in your state that you can access as well.